This is a vlog to again try to advocate for the children that are already born and that will be born coming up in this next generation. You know, if there were scientists that measured, let's say, every decade or so, the percentage of children that die before their parents, well, I predict that, there is a shift now, but that in the next generation, which we'll say is 25 years, there'll be a significant measurement increase. Now, this is, to me, the professor of sociocybernetics, one of the signs that what I've been predicting and talking about, the collapse of this latest proto-civilization, is happening, right? It's one of the signs that the increase in children dying before their parents will happen. So I don't have any biological children of my own. People see I'm very good with kids. They assume I have them. They say I should have some when in fact I should in fact be helping the people that already have some or adopting some, especially some that are in parts of the world where their chances are very, very minimal at becoming human and having a life that is, even 10% related to happiness instead of misery and hardships. So but again, the crash of this current proto-civilization points to a lack of sentience and sapience, that this adoption process is not likely to succeed. And even if it did, I'd have to be working on it for years in large numbers of hours to save one child, when in that time I could be helping others or role modeling or putting free teachings online. So it's kind of sad. It's sad that the people that have these children that they may or may not know will be the ones that will die before them, are not seeking to participate in this raising of awareness to at least mitigate that part as the proto-civilization is on its way to crash again. And these kids will die of multiple reasons that have not been the same as other times in history where large percentages of children died before their parents or even grandparents. So nobody's talking about this because, well, no offense, but as a species, you are not who you think you are. So it's not like there are agencies that actually do a good job in monitoring, charting, doing long-term planning, advising countries or United Nations that actually had real good intentions. They don't. So this is, it's one of the reasons that I cry frequently, because I care about what's happening. I care that instead of having a process where every country would agree to this, the United Nations would enforce it, and they would request that even any countries that want to join enforce this, is that for somebody to have a child is you don't like force sterilization on people, but you give them the choice that you can be a parent. You can also take this therapy when your biological clock is ticking to try to overcome it, because it can become a mental illness. And also, guys who follow their hormones to spread their seed as much as possible can become a mental illness. And sometimes it makes people think they're violent in a way that is the only cause of their behavior, when the behavior is other things that they need, to overcome as part of the maturation process that isn't part of our societies when it comes to our species. But if we had an agreement of this is the program where if you pass, you have the ability to become a parent. Now, some people might become parents because of this simple concept of contraception is still very much, and this should be actually more encouraged and taught and even enforced in a lot of ways, where you have to provide evidence that you know how to use it efficiently and that you are using it efficiently, so that if there's an accidental birth, there could be, a study done to decide what kind of penalties there would be to that person. Now, the penalty is not death or sterilization or things like that, or jail time for long periods, but if somebody, and it should be already underway, this program, but because it hasn't been underway, it should be stricter now. If we apply it, the rules should be stricter. So, for example, people that would pass the parenting screening test, and it could be because they are unable to have kids. Well, they should adopt the ones that are from these accidents where the contraception didn't work, but you can test to see, if it's in the person's blood, let's say, that they've been taking this medicine to prevent accidental birth. So there, and it's not preventing, right? It's not preventing people from, if it's, their life's mission for some reason to become a parent, as if, there wasn't anything else that their brains were capable of. That's quite sad in the times that are coming, that they think that the most important thing they could do is have kids. But anyways, let's say that's how their brains work, and nobody can help them realize that there are other contributions they can do to life on this planet than just spreading their genetic material. Is they could have the choice to undergo this process. And a lot of people with developmental disabilities would pass this test more than the average person, right, that are pursuing, greed or career status or things like that might not as easily pass, right, these tests. So, and if some of these people with developmental disabilities, let's say, are still decided not to have kids by a society for reasons that are scientifically valid, they could still be part of the daycare process or the family caregivers in some ways, right? That would be more beneficial to the raising of these kids compared to most of the child care that I've seen around the world, right? That is detrimental to children, especially if it's business for profit, right? So anyways, this is my take on what I've tried to make it as light as possible, but it's based on reality, right? I'm not, if you're going to go draconian or you're going to go eugenics or whatever is you want to determine is previous ideas I'm talking about, which is not accurate. Just listen to the times that we're in, to these suggestions I'm talking about that will raise the quality of life of your species in an equitable, or if that's the right word, with more equality, and also with the mitigation of the most serious of all concerns related to, poverty, homelessness, drug addiction, mental health, struggles with economies, with war, with climate emergencies, with everything. It's all related to overpopulation of your species, the Homo communia. So this is good for everything, not just your species. It's good for life on this planet that you apply these. And it has nothing to do with one category of people is better than another when it comes to who should have kids. Everybody should be given a chance, except that we should all set standards of who would be a good parent and their commitment to this, as opposed to, let's say, also pursuing a full-time career, because you can't really do both well, right? Because then you're going to cut corners and do like politicians do and get the lowest bidder for something in pursuit of this monetary paradigm or monopoly game or status game, and your child will suffer, and if people notice that the child is lacking in some ways, and you put nice clothes on them and you say, oh, I was just dealt with the bad cards with the genetics here, when it's really just choices of that parent, right? Is to not participate in the ideas I'm talking about. It'd be also that they would just say, oh yeah, well, we got the bad end of the straw there, but we also are putting a lot of money into getting specialists and experts who aren't specialists and experts more than, who would have claimed to be, 600 years ago or 1,000 years ago, but who cared more probably back then without the same scientific tools, would have done a better job with your kids. So often the specialists would be people that have genuine care and concern, and this is why I'm saying people with developmental disabilities are not in pursuit of the HSD-related paradigms, like elitism or monetary paradigms. So they would actually be doing a good job because it's the right thing to do, and they care. And they would feel bad when they make a mistake, and they'd get better at it. That's who you need. But people in childcare, doctors, educators, I don't see these behaviors in them. So again, you're flawed. You need to fix this.